Hi everyone, Christine Daal here from Fashion Angel Warrior. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Welcome to our weekly Facebook and Instagram lives. Tonight is episode number 95. We are going to do a case study, and it's going to be a little bit different of a case study because we're actually going to examine over 20 different companies and why they were successful and they launched during a bad economy or during a recession. So I'm super excited. I'm a little bit of a geek, so this stuff kind of nerds me out a little bit. I love it. Hey Tiffany, how are you? If it's your first time watching with me, thanks so much for tuning in. This will be made available as a replay inside our Facebook group, The Fearless Fashionpreneur. We're gonna put snippets of it up on our IGTV as well, but if you wanna watch the full thing, head on over to the Fearless Fashionpreneur Facebook group. Our link is in the bio. And don't forget to give me your hearts, give me your thumbs up. I love it, guys. It's like oxygen to me. I need it. I wanna know that I'm talking to people and that you're talking back to me. So comments, questions, anything as we go along, definitely type them in. And I want this to be as interactive as possible. So today we are going to discuss over 20 different companies / industries that have launched during or right after an economic recession, and they actually did very, very well. I'm going to give you examples of companies that were actually able to pivot during a recession, which helped them come out ahead of the game, including one brand that's actually over 100 years old, which is crazy. We're going to talk about whether defense or offense is actually the right strategy for a business to survive a recession, how we helped one client actually reduce operating expenses by over $100,000 per year, making them profitable for their first time ever, and predictions on what the future holds as well. So thank you so very much for tuning in. Awesome. What's a case study? Okay, so we do case studies where we pick different brands. That's a great question. Thank you so very much for asking that. Where we pick different brands and we examine them. We dissect them, we figure out why are they successful, what did they do along their journey, what about their company, their business owners, their strategy, their business model made them successful. And so we typically pick only one company to examine at a time. In this case, we're gonna do kind of a plethora. We're doing over 20 different companies because really the overall goal of talking about today's case study is why are they successful? These specific companies happen to launch in a recession. And so we are in a recession right now. If you haven't noticed, I'm sure most of you have, due to COVID, due to this pandemic that is going on. Obviously businesses were shut down. A lot of people are not even physically allowed to operate their businesses. I know businesses are just starting to reopen. Companies had to furlough and lay off tons of employees. So we're in a recession right now. And so a lot of people are fearful. A lot of people are wondering, how can I survive? I always say I'm always a big proponent. Out of every obstacle, there is an opportunity. I posted that on my Instagram feed a couple days ago. And it is so, so true. And if you want more information on this, we actually talked about it a lot in episode number 86, our Facebook Live 86, on how to prosper and not panic. So go back to the Fearless Fashionpreneur Facebook group and watch that over there because we talked a lot about how to really prosper in an economic recession and during a time of crisis. But you know, crisis can sometimes be a good thing. It can sometimes give you a fresh opportunity or a new perspective on things, or it can sometimes force you to do something that you haven't wanted to do. I know a lot of my designers and brands are coming to me right now. They have been focused on pop-ups and markets and doing events, and then COVID happened and all of that got taken away. And now they're like, holy cow, I need to get my online business going. Now, had they thought of that a year or 2 or 3 or 4 ago when I first originally told them, hey, you need to be online, you need to be online, they wouldn't be in this position now, right? So it's about setting yourself up for success, but also figuring out how to actually prosper once you're actually in a recession, right? What if you didn't set yourself up for success ahead of time, right? Which we talked about in Facebook Live 86. What can you do right now to kind of make yourself come out ahead and make your business come out ahead? So the famous quote, necessity is the mother of all invention or innovation. And so we're going to talk about a couple companies that totally innovated during this time. And another important stat I wanted to share with all of you, only 9% of companies typically flourish after a recession. So I am praying for all of you that all of your companies will be those 9% that actually do come out ahead, and hopefully what we're going to talk about today is going to help you. So now let's talk about these 20 companies and examples of the companies that actually pivoted during a recession and how they were able to do that and what made them come out ahead. So we're going to go all the way back in time to the panic of 1893 and 1897. Yes, you heard me say 1800s, not 1900s. We are going way back in time here with a very well-known company I'm sure all of you have heard of, 1892, Coca-Cola was founded. They literally launched a year before a Great Recession. And believe it or not, in their very first year, they only sold 25 bottles. That was it. 25 bottles of Coke was all that they sold in the very first year of their existence. So that should definitely encourage you, for those of you who aren't seeing the sales that you want to see. If Coca-Cola only sold 25 bottles their first year, I'm sure you too can have success. Moving right along to another recession that happened in 1902 to 1904. Target was actually launched in 1902, also a recession. Then moving right along to the Great Depression, which happened from 1929 to 1933, Disney was launched in 1929. Revlon was launched in 1932. And the laundromat was actually birthed during this time. And if you've been paying attention to my Instagram feed, you would know why. So the actual home use washer and dryer were invented during the Great Depression. The problem was they were so expensive, no one could actually afford to buy it. So they decided to switch gears, switch business models, and figure out a way to rent them. And literally, this is when the laundromat was birthed and how the laundromat was birthed, which is crazy to me. I mean, if you think about the laundromat, it's one of the most successful investments that you can make if you own a laundromat. It is recession proof. It is obviously COVID pandemic proof. Laundromat stayed open because it was considered a necessity during this time. And so you can make a lot of money off of laundromats. And literally this idea was birthed out of the Great Depression, out of a necessity that no one could afford to have an in-home washer and dryer. Crazy, right? Am I the only one that thinks this is crazy? I think this is crazy. Okay, moving along to the next one. And by the way, guys, if you haven't noticed, there has been an economic recession just about every 10 to 11 years or so throughout our entire history, right? So if you go back in time, which is basically what we're doing right now, you'll see me spit out all these numbers, and some of them happen to be a little bit closer in time. Some of them were smaller recessions, other ones were bigger recessions. But definitely in the last 30 years or so, they've definitely been around 10 or 11 years apart. And so you can kind of predict that one will happen again. And it's not always 10 or 11. Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 9, sometimes it's 12. But on average, it's 10 to 11 years, okay? So now moving along in time to 1939. So there was a recession that happened in 37 to 38. So this is literally 1 year after HP, Hewlett-Packard, was launched. Today, they are valued at over $22 billion and they have 56,000 employees. Those numbers are as of 2019. Then in 1953, also another recession, Burger King was launched, which, fun fact, it was actually initially called Insta Burger King. Has anyone ever heard this? I think this is hilarious. Like, I don't know where they came up with this idea. I almost want to ask my parents if they remember it being called Insta Burger King. But considering now that Instagram is a huge thing and everything is Insta, I thought that was pretty funny. But Burger King, as of today, has over 11 million customers every single year, which is pretty shocking. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water. Okay, moving along in time, 1958, 1960, 61, there was another recession. Hyatt was actually launched in 1957, so 1 year before the recession. They are now valued at $5.6 billion and they have over 900 hotels. Trader Joe's, any Trader Joe's fans? I love Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's was actually launched in 1958, also during the recession. It was actually originally called Pronto Market. And after 10 years, they finally introduced Trader Joe's. And at first it had this very like nautical theme and all the workers wore these really bright tropical patterned shirts. I wish I could find a picture of this. I'm definitely going to post it. I would love to know what this nautical, tropical Trader Joe's theme actually looked like in 1968. But it's interesting, they launched in 1958, which was a recession. 10 years later, 1969-ish, there was another recession. So basically they had all these recessions that they had to get through. But of course, today valued at $53 billion, over 500 stores nationwide, pretty successful. Walmart was also birthed in 1962, right after a recession. FedEx, 1971, which there was also a recession, 69 to 70, so right after. Microsoft, 1975. This was the oil embargo recession that happened. Today, Microsoft's valued at 1.3 trillion, and they employ over 148,000 people. Keep in mind, Bill Gates was a college dropout, so that should help inspire you and give you some hope. 1980, CNN was launched, another recession at that time. And just to note, at this time, Walmart and McDonald's did very well. So they were already in existence during this time, and they did extremely well in 1980. 1991, E-Trade was founded. Again, another recession. Then, of course, there's the famous 2001 dot-com bubble, 9/11 recession that kind of happened. So MailChimp was actually launched at this time. And interesting fun fact, how many of you actually use MailChimp? I know there's a couple of you on. Who uses MailChimp? I would love to know. If you're watching the replay, type in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I want to know if you actually use MailChimp. We personally use MailChimp in our business. And initially, they actually focused on large corporate clients. And then they realized almost a decade later, again in another recession, that this wasn't working. And so they switched to their freemium business, which is actually how a lot of people get hooked on MailChimp, because it is free up to 2,000 subscribers. Yes, Jen uses MailChimp. Awesome. So that's an interesting fun fact. And they launched, again, during the dot-com 9/11 recession. Also something to note, Amazon and eBay and Google all survived during this time. So they were already in existence and they were able to make it through this recession. Apple, which happened to be around since the 1970s, however, in this time, in the early 2000s, is when Steve Jobs actually came back around and took over. And that's when he launched the iPod, which kind of spawned off every other device that we now have. And Tim Cook, their current CEO, has been known to say that we believe in investing during downturns. This is a very offensive strategy, and I will definitely talk about this a little bit more in our live as we keep going along. But I thought that was really interesting. If anyone remembers when the iPod was launched, I certainly remember. It was a very distinct time because I saw everyone on the subway go from not having anything in their ears to now everyone has iPods and everyone has earbuds in their ears and everyone is listening to music. And it was crazy. It literally happened overnight. Also, good thing to note at this time in the early 2000s, in the year 2000, Netflix had actually a net loss of over 57 million. They had been 3 years in business and they had still not made a profit. But by 2001, the DVD player prices dropped also because of the recession. And more people started to stay inside watching their TVs because they were all fearful of terrorists attacking the earth. And so Netflix actually did very well because of this. And they started turning a profit in 2003, which was actually 6 years after they launched. So if you've been around for a while, if you have not turned a profit yet in your business, do not worry. A lot of companies don't turn a profit for many, many years. Okay, then of course the most famous, most recent recession, the recession of 2008-2009 when the housing market crashed. There were a plethora of businesses that were started that are all successful today. So Airbnb started in August of 2008. They are valued today at $31 billion. And the recession really opened up a ton of opportunity for them because now people wanted to pay less for a hotel or a place to stay. And people also wanted to make money, make a side income, and rent their space. And so it really appealed to both ends of the spectrum. And because it was a recession and people were hurting financially, it really worked out for them. Groupon also started in 2008. Perfect timing for them because, again, everyone wants to save money. Everyone wants coupons. Everyone wants a deal. They are today valued at $547 million. Uber started in March of 2009. WhatsApp 2009, Venmo 2009, which by the way, they sold it in 2012 for $26 million, and then that sold to PayPal for $800 million. Pretty successful company. Slack 2009 started. Square started also in 2009. Today they're valued at a $26 billion company. And the Snuggie. Does anyone remember the Snuggie? I would honestly love to know. Does anyone have a Snuggie? Does anyone use their Snuggie? I have never purchased one of these things. It looks like the most comfortable thing I've ever seen in my life. Hey, So Chic Petite. Hey, Rakina. Good to see so many of you on. Hi, Maria. Hi, Nicole. Has anyone ever purchased a Snuggie or worn a Snuggie? Apparently they sold 20 million of these things, which is crazy. And 20 million alone in 2009. Okay, so they've sold much more. But essentially people started to stay at home more because they were trying to save money. And so they would like to snuggle up on the couch. And of course, what's the perfect thing is a Snuggie. I know, I could use a Snuggie right now too. Oh my gosh. I almost want to go buy one. But fun fact, did you know they actually knocked another brand off? So the Slanket, has anyone ever heard of this? Because I've never heard of this. The Slanket actually came out first in 2002, and the Snuggie just knocked them off and capitalized on it. So if you're gonna buy one, please buy the Slanket, not the Snuggie, because we wanna buy original designs, not knockoff designs, right? You don't want people knocking off your stuff, so let's buy the original design. Okay. And then also to note, Instagram and Pinterest both started in 2010, right after the recession. So these are crazy, crazy successful companies, guys, and they all launched during a recession. So if you are fearful, if you are like, hey, I can't launch my fashion line right now, it's during a recession, I need to pivot, I need to wait, I need to do this. Yes, obviously you might need to pivot, you might need to adapt, you might need to start making face masks. I have a lot of clients that instead of launching their real line, their actually clothing line, they launched face masks or they launched matching sets of some sort instead, right? Obviously that makes sense. That's what people want right now, so give it to them. But it's really, really important that you don't just put off launching for the sake of put off launching. If you're not ready, that's another story, but don't put it off just because there's a pandemic going on, okay? So now let's talk about whether defense or offense is the right strategy in order to survive a recession. So I want to hear from you guys. There's a couple of you on. How many of you think defense, type defense, and how many of you think offense? I would love to know. So type in the comments. Nikki, you're so cute. You have the same hair clips, but you haven't been able to pull them off. Girl, it's so easy. Just part your hair on one side. Clip, clip, boom, you're done. 2 clips max. If they're smaller ones, you can use 3, but these are the bigger ones, so only use 2. Yes, I'm making masks. Okay, cool. So who thinks offense, who thinks defense? Nikki says defense. DD says defense. Elvitanza says defense. Wow, a lot of people are saying defense. Okay. Let's talk about it. I actually think it's not one or the other. I think it's a combination of both plus innovation and adaptability. So you can't just be offensive. You can't just be defensive. You have to be offense plus defense plus innovation plus adaptability. So 4 things that you really need in order to succeed. And I'm going to break them down for you right now. So defense, and I kind of think of this like a football game, American football, right? So defense is like you're trying to stop the other team from beating you, right? You're trying to stop them from scoring a goal. So what do you do in defense? You start cutting costs. You start cutting operational expenses. You start laying people off. You start getting rid of all the company perks and, you know, the frills and all the little additional things, right? The problem with this mentality, if this is the only part of the puzzle that you do, is that you can't just try to do the same amount with less. Meaning a lot of companies will go on the defense. They're so focused on, oh my gosh, we're in a recession. We have to cut costs. Easiest way to cut costs, start laying off people, right? They're the biggest amount of costs that we have. So they start laying off all these people. Well, the people that are left now typically have to take on the roles of all those other people that were let go. And they will get burnt out and bitter and resentful, and they might even leave eventually. And so that method never works. If you're going to cut costs, think about how you can actually improve operational efficiency, not just reducing the number of people. So this could mean looking at your supply chain. It could mean closing underperforming stores or locations if you have physical stores and locations. It's a lot harder to find good people to work for you and or to rehire people. I've seen a lot of companies, you know, in times of need and a recession, they'll lay off all these people and then a year later they try to hire everyone back. Half of them got other jobs. Half of them are pissed off at you. Half of them want more money because now you pissed them off or something, right? So it's a lot harder to rehire. It's also a lot harder to just find good people to begin with. So you don't necessarily want to just go on a firing, hose and fire everybody in sight. That's not necessarily going to work. And that's especially not going to work if that's your only strategy. Now let's talk about offense. So offense, right? You're trying to score. You're trying to win in a game, right? If you're doing football or some sort of game. You're trying to score, you're trying to win, you're trying to get the ball in the goal, right? So this would be things like investing in your company in order to grow, whether it's investing in marketing, advertising, developing new products, new markets, acquiring talent, right? Hiring more people. And this can have huge benefits because after the recession is over, demand is going to start to increase for whatever it is that you do. And obviously you'll be prepared, right? The problem is if you only do this strategy and you don't take into consideration the other three, which we're going to talk about, the problem is you can go into denial. You can go into denial that there's actually a recession, that things are looking bleak, that sales aren't doing good, that money is just kind of going out the window and no sales are coming in, right? So you can start to go into denial. So make sure this is not your only strategy that's going on. Next is innovation. This is my third strategy that I think all companies need in order to survive a recession. Innovation. You need to think of something new. You need to innovate. You need to create. All of you are creative. You're designers, you're entrepreneurs, you're creatives. So think of a new idea, a new product, a new partnership, right? It doesn't always have to be something that you yourself are doing, but can you partner with someone else? And you offer what they offer what you offer, right? It's kind of like in football, in American football, I should say, when they have a trick play, right? When it's like, they expect the quarterback to be the one to throw the ball, the quarterback hands it off to somebody else, and they're the person that throws the ball, right? Like it's a totally trick play, it's caught out of left field, no one sees it coming, and it catches your defensive or your competitors off guard, right? This is the time to innovate. It's times like these in a recession, in an economic downtime, that it's time to innovate and start thinking of new ideas, new products, and new partnerships. And the last one is adaptability. So not necessarily doing something new, that would fall under the category of innovation, but adapting, doing something that you didn't do before or doing something a little bit differently, right? Adjusting, modifying. So in football, this would be like when the quarterback has no one to throw the ball to because they're all covered and he decides to run the ball himself, right? This is not necessarily something new. It's not like a new play. He's basically forced to. He's got no open men on the field, no one to throw this ball to. People are coming at him. He's about to get sacked, right? And so he's got to just run it and hope that he can get that first down, right? So this is kind of what I mean by adaptability, and we're going to go into this a little bit further. Now, another side note I will say is if you want some more tips on qualities needed to be a great business owner, go back and watch Facebook Live episode number 90. Again, it's inside our Fearless Fashionpreneur Facebook group. It is amazing. We went over tons and tons of qualities in there. Kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about right now. So I wanted to make that note. Next, I want to talk about the brand that's over 100 years old that has done all four of these things very, very well. But can anyone guess who this brand is? We actually already named them. They were part of our top 20 brands and companies that we went over that survived recessions. I'll give you a hint. They are a very well-known retailer. They do sell fashion along with other things, but not solely fashion. Can anyone take a guess? I'll give you an even bigger hint. Their biggest competitor is Walmart. No one can guess? Oh my gosh. If you're watching the replay, please guess, because I would love to see all your guess responses. Okay, I will tell you who it is. It's Target. So Target has been around for over 100 years. That means they've been through tons of recessions. Almost every 10 or 11 years, they have gone through a recession. And they have not only survived, but they are thriving. And so let me give you a couple examples of these four things that I just went over. So offense. During the 2000 recession, Target actually increased their marketing and sales expenses by 20% and their capital expenses by 50%. They increased the number of stores. They also increased the number of Super Target stores. They put another 88 on top of the 30 that they already had. And that's a really great example of offense, right? They're spending money, they're opening up new markets, they're adding more stores, etc., right? They're obviously hiring more people. That's a very, very offensive move. They also did a very innovative move during this time. They grew their internet business. I'm talking about in the year 2000, when the dot-coms were just starting, when online sales were just kind of getting going. They started growing their internet business, which, by the way, side note, I think they could improve their internet business a little bit, but that's another story for another day. They also partnered with Amazon, another innovative move. They also teamed up with a lot of really well-known designers. I'm sure a lot of you have seen their, designer collections that they offer at Target. And that really helped to cement their reputation for being cheap chic, right? Then they also did defensive moves. They reduced costs, they improved productivity, they enhanced their supply chain. They even, in the year 2000, got together with 12 other retailers, and they founded the Worldwide Retail Exchange, which is actually a B2B platform where retailers can actually facilitate trading between vendors, which is crazy. Then in 2001, they consolidated their Dayton and Hudson stores under the Marshall Fields Company. And these moves really helped the company to grow sales by 40% and profits by 50% over the course of a recession, which is crazy. Then let's talk about adaptability. Then in 2008-9 recession, so another recession that they had to go through, they started to realize that spending on wants was decreasing and spending on needs was increasing. And so they decided to focus on food. They had never had food in the store before. They launched a new store format that doubled the amount of space devoted to food. They extended their range of food brands. They introduced things like Market Pantry and Archer Farms. They overhauled their entire operations in order to support the emphasis on food. Food has now become a $1.8 billion business for Target. Food is definitely a necessity. And one of the reasons Target was able to remain open during COVID is because they sell food, along with other things, but food definitely. Unlike another company, Blockbuster, does anyone remember this company? They're totally out of business. They've been out of business since 2010. They did not follow these 4 things that I just went over: offense, defense, innovation, and adaptability. And actually in the year 2000, Netflix actually approached Blockbuster as a partnership, but Blockbuster laughed in their face because at the time, Netflix was a very, very new company and Blockbuster was a very, very successful company. Blockbuster even had a chance to buy Netflix for $50 million. Today, Netflix is worth over $116 billion. So I think Netflix is the one laughing now. And basically, they went out of business because they refused to get with the times. They refused to adapt. They did eventually start their own DVD mail subscription service, similar to Netflix, but they started too late. Had they actually had started 2 years earlier, they probably would have beat Netflix out of the park, but they didn't adapt fast enough. So if you've learned anything from this, please learn you need offense, defense, adaptability, and innovation. Those are the 4 keys in order to come out ahead during a recession. Now, what if I told you you could find out in less than 10 minutes whether or not you were going to succeed in your fashion business? Have you ever Googled ROI on a fashion line, or what are my chances of success with my fashion line? I have actually Googled this, and after endless hours of searching on Google, I found nothing. There's no stats, there's no ROI metrics, there's no KPIs, there's no quiz, there's nothing. So I literally decided to create one. I created a quiz that in less than 10 minutes, you can find out whether or not your company is actually going to be successful. So I hope everyone will go over and take it, fashionninjawarrior.com/quiz. Take our successful quiz, and I would love to know your success score at the end of it. So you get an actual score out of 300, I believe it is. And I would love to know what your score is. So go to fashionninjawarrior.com/quiz, and you can actually find out right now within the next 10 minutes whether or not you're actually going to succeed. I'm very proud of this quiz, guys. It took a long time to develop this. This has been something that's like a baby for me. I've really, really wanted to create something because nothing really exists out there. And I find it so difficult for fashion businesses to succeed. So you might as well know before you get too far in whether or not you have a good chance of succeeding. Okay, So I hope you'll take the quiz. Next, I want to talk about how we actually helped one of our clients reduce their operating expenses by over $100,000 per year, making them profitable. So in 2018, I should say end of 2018, 2019, I had a new client. He came to me and he said, we made $500,000 in sales. Okay, pretty good. But we spent $600,000 in expenses. Wah, wah. So he was at a loss for the year. Great for taxes, not for business, right? So, repeat it again. Sorry, it's fashionangelwarrior.com/quiz. If you go to our bio, it's in the link in our bio as well. Okay, perfect. So he was at a loss, and of course our goal was to increase sales, but I also wanted to reduce operating expenses. So we looked at his P&L, we looked at his marketing, budget, website, photo shoots, everything, and we were able to save him close to that $100,000 a year mark, all by just reducing some things and switching some things out. Like, for instance, we saved over $10,000 a year on his Facebook and his Google ads by switching companies. He was paying one company $1,300 a month. We were able to find another company that could do it for $460 a month. That's $10,000 right there. If you do that 10 times, you now have $100,000 that you just saved, right? Also, we realized one of his sales reps was making way too much commission, like he was being way too generous for this person and they were not bringing in enough sales. So we negotiated that down. He had some full-time employees that were just not really pulling their weight and also just not qualified. Like, if you're going to hire someone for your business and pay them a salary, they need to know what they're doing. And so this person happened to be responsible for a lot of different areas. One of the areas, for example, was blog writing. This person had no idea how to do keyword research, title research, how to write a blog, how to size an image properly. And so essentially the job of blog writing was a waste because none of the blogs were found on Google for SEO purposes because the person didn't know how to do keyword research. And it actually made the website slow because all the images that were being uploaded to the blog weren't sized properly. So not only was this a waste of time and money because it didn't help lead to anything, but it also actually could have hurt sales because it actually got the website traffic, website speed slower. So you need to make sure these people that you're hiring actually know what they're doing. And so we were able to actually keep this person on, change their role slightly, and then we at Fashion Angel Warrior took over a lot of the digital marketing things. So we do blog writing, it's one of our services, email marketing, SEO, Facebook ads, Google ads, influencer marketing, pretty much you name it, we can do it. And so our prices are really affordable. And so we started doing blog writing for him. It was only 3 blogs for $550. It was a lot less than hiring someone full-time at a full-time salary to do something that they weren't even doing properly. So just make sure, thank you so Chic Petite for putting the link. Just make sure that the people that you're hiring are actually qualified to do what it is that you actually need them to do. And if you don't know, then you need to find out and work with us or take some of our online courses, which I'll let you in on a little secret at the end of this. Okay, so we were able to reduce his budget by over $100,000, and we're actually able to increase sales over $120,000. So his next year was actually a really good year, which was awesome. So now let's talk about a little bit about predictions for the future. So obviously it's 2020. We're in our own recession, pandemic recession. And people are calling this the new normal. I call it the better normal. I always like to put a positive spin on things. And so I think there's a lot of things that are going to happen. I think building relationships and partnerships and collaborations are definitely going to be key in order for anyone to succeed. I think the only way for people to succeed is to partner together. You can't get to the top of the mountain without pulling someone else up with you. And so I think that's going to be really, really key. And companies that are not willing to do that are going to be left by the wayside. I think working from home, WFH, working from home is going to turn into work from wherever, which is honestly my dream, my goal. My husband right now is finally working from home. That's never happened ever in the history of his career. And so we could essentially pick up and go anywhere we want right now and work from wherever, which is pretty exciting. So I think work from home will turn into, when people get comfortable with travel again, work from wherever. I think online sales clearly are going to soar. I think made in the USA is going to soar. I think on-demand manufacturing is going to become really, really popular. I think sustainability and transparency and all of those things are going to be super important for customers when they're investing and buying something from a fashion brand. I think this is going to force a lot of technological advancements in the area of manufacturing, especially because manufacturing of garments has really not changed in the last 80 years, which is crazy. We've had so many other technological advances, and yet garment manufacturing is still the same old crap, right? So I think there's going to be more sobots. I think things are going to cut down, labor time and all this kind of stuff. I think as far as markets, obviously athleisure, activewear, that's already been on the rise. It's already been on the rise for several years. I think jewelry and headwear, accessories, barrettes, things that you can wear around your head, around your face, around your neck, because obviously people are doing a lot of Zoom calls these days. I know for me, I bought a ton of different headwear recently because I'm always on Zoom and I'm always on live and I'm always being seen from here up. So you can't even see what I'm wearing on the bottom, which is kind of crazy. I think the luxury market will suffer a little bit because of the economy, but it never suffers that much. People will have money. They'll lose a little bit of money, but they still have a ton of money, right? And I think mass market and budget is going to be the one to suffer the most. Fast fashion will suffer the most, especially if we all can put an emphasis on slow fashion and sustainability. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. I hope you enjoyed this case study. I was super excited and kind of geeked out to go over it with you. Couple of announcements. Make sure you go back and watch those previous Facebook Lives, episode 86, How to Prosper Not Panic, and episode number 90, Qualities Needed to be a Great Business Owner. They're all inside our Fearless Fashionpreneur Facebook group, so just click the link in my bio, head over there, join the exclusive group, and you get access to all of the replays. There's literally over 40 hours of free information all inside there. Again, if you want to know your chances of success, make sure that you go to fashioningtowear.com/quiz and take our success quiz that I really spent a ton of time developing and making sure that it was super accurate. Also, you have a chance to win a free one-on-one coaching session with me. So as part of Tex World's virtual platform that is launching July 21st to 23rd, and as Tex World's brand ambassador for this virtual event, I am giving away 1 free hour of coaching. You can go to texworldraffle.eventbrite.com in order to enter the raffle. You have to make sure that you sign up for Tex World and for the raffle in order to be entered. And tune in next week. I'm going to be interviewing Melissa from Fashion Mingle on Tex World's account. So I'm their brand ambassador. So I'm going to be going live on Instagram on their account. And that's going to be July 8th, Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, we have our Cheers to Freedom from Your Job sale, aka our 4th of July sale. My goal is to help everyone walk away from their 9-to-5 the same way that I did and have a very successful, profitable business. And so we're launching our biggest online course sale of the year. We only do this one time a year. It literally starts tomorrow, July 1st, all the way through to July 8th. You can take $40 off individual courses, $80 off our 4-course bundles, and $250 off our Fashion Startup Intensive. So go to fashioningtowear.com/courses and you can take part of that sale. Just to give you a little quote from one of our clients, one of our students, "Holy cow, amazing, way better than expected, no fluff, pure usable content." That's literally what she said about our online courses. So these courses are crazy. I do not teach like other people teach. As you can tell, I talk really fast and I give tons of free information. So you're not gonna fall asleep. You're not gonna have time to multitask. You're gonna need to pay attention, but they're recorded, of course, so you can go back and watch them over and over again. And of course, they come with a ton of different cheat sheets so you're not taking a million notes as I'm talking and you can really focus on when I'm talking, but you also have a cheat sheet right there for you whenever you need to turn back to that. So I hope you'll buy some of the courses. Definitely stock up now because they're on sale. We're not going to do this again until next 4th of July. So definitely stock up. They're yours to keep forever and you get access to all the updates. And then tune in with me next week for Facebook Live episode 96. We're going to talk about how to do a mid-year goal check. So it is actually mid-year. We are through as of tomorrow with 6 months out of the year, which is crazy. I know it's not looking like most of you had wanted for 2020, but you can finish better than you started, so don't give up hope yet. And we're going to talk about how to do a mid-year goal check so that you can get on track and make sure that the second part of the year is better than the first part. So tune in next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, inside the Fearless Fashionpreneur Facebook group. And don't forget to always do whatever it takes. I love you guys. Thanks so much. Don't forget to share this video. Love you. Bye.